Hi folks, today we're going to take a look at LIA, where he plays a interesting phone call that has a lot of suspicion and accusations thrown around in it. But before we start today's video, as always, a big thank you to all my current and new channel members and subscribers. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep the channel going, so I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. And a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Aura. It's that time of year again. Stores are full of shoppers, and Mariah Carey comes out of her icy thaw to demand her tribute as always. And with us traveling and shopping online more, we need to keep our online security safe, and this is where today's sponsor can help, Aura. Aura is an online digital security that protects your data with 24-hour monitoring of your personal data, your credit, and make sure your data doesn't get sold off to data brokers. And with it being the holiday season, we do a lot more traveling, and we're going to be on public Wi-Fi a lot.
I'm not driving, I'm traveling.
And doing online shopping can leave your data open to data thieves and data brokers selling off your data, and hackers and scammers trying to get your info. But you can make your data safe. Aura is offering you a free 14-day trial by clicking my link, aura.com/NCR, or scanning the QR code. You can cancel at any time. So let Aura help keep your data safe this holiday season. That's aura.com/NCR, or scan the QR code, or click the link down in the description box and start your free 14-day trial. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to sign up for your free 14-day trial. Not only is it the best way to help keep your personal data safe, but it's the best way to help support me and the channel. With all that being said, let's enjoy today's video.
What's up guys, Long Island Audit here, back again with another video. In today's video, we are going to be hearing directly from a law enforcement whistleblower who personally knew and worked with the infamous former Sergeant Brian Fahey. We will hear reports of stalking, racism, excessive force, drug use, and much more. Let's get into it.
I was 26 when I came through the academy, so either she was younger than me by 2 years or older than me. But anyway, unbeknownst to all of us, because I don't know people's past, I was part of the military, but this lady was a stripper. And for conversation purposes, it ain't like you would put the two together when we all met. She looked completely different, but it had a child. She was getting these love letters stuffed in her locker. So she started asking, we were, when you graduate the academy, you're kind of close, you kind of already have a bond. So she would ask me and another guy, hey, any chance you guys know whoever this admirer is? And we're like, no. But, you could still say, so whatever. So, as fate would have it, a few weeks and leads into months down the road, he gets more in depth in his noting to her and finds out that she's seeing a black guy. So then the notes went from charming or, whatever. And mind you, he knew her from when she was a stripper, because he's older than me, and older than her. So he would reference that. So she then knew it wasn't anybody in the class with us.
Now, there's something about this story that's not making sense. One of the big things that's poking out to me is, how do they know it was Fahey exactly? Because she doesn't know who's writing the letters. You don't know who's writing the letters. Did you see him write it? And let's not take from account that, this is a highly suspect story. Not to say that somebody who may have been a exotic dancer at one point couldn't, become a cop or an EMT or a firefighter. That's totally plausible. A lot of people change careers in life. However, you're providing this as fact when there's no real proof from this anonymous source, I say with air quotes, because it just seems too, choreographed, too, this doesn't seem like something somebody would tell you. This seems more like something that was pre-written, something that was fabricated almost.
It was somebody works there that remembered a secret of hers. So she would later find out who it is because he would prank call her on the phone. So he would call within the facility, and he always knew what her post was. And so she finally figured it out. She was like, hey, Fahey, it's you. And he's like, he would always hang out when she say his name. So finally, she told him one time, hey, I'm seeing someone, I appreciate if you not call me and do this. So apparently, he sees her out in town one day, sees that she's dating a black guy. So it went from nice harassment, in-loving whore, in-loving yada yada yada. She filed, a situation with the lieutenant. They did nothing, of course. And she ended up losing, she was pregnant, she lost the kid because it stressed her out so bad. I think shortly after that, he was not promoted in DLC. He went over to New London PD, got the recommendation from DLC, the good old boys, went over to New London PD, terrorized the city. And he's just this little skinny pissant. He's far more skinny then than he is even now.
A lot of the story as it keeps going on, it just seems more suspect, more suspicious. I mean, okay, the phone call thing, that could just be, the older cops busting the new cops' chops. I mean, we've all teased the new guy at work. That's not a big deal. But yet, if you're saying that this was a pattern of ongoing harassment, why didn't she go up to the chain of command? Why didn't she go to her union rep? Why didn't this person in this story, have an investigation launch or file a lawsuit against the department for harassment? It sounds like, from what you're telling us, she has a open and shut case for textbook harassment. But that doesn't happen. You're saying that, Fahey knew she was a dancer and he was following her around. Well, if that's the case, wouldn't she, as a cop who's trained to look for these kinds of things, collect the evidence and say, hey, I've got these letters, they're harassing, they won't stop, I want this to stop, and go to the chain of command? Because it just seems like that would be the more logical thing to do, even as a new recruit. She could even put in for a transfer, but yet that doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay if this person was actually victimized, but I'm just saying the story just seems way too suspicious and way too specifically written to, be real.
And once you gave him a badge and a gun, he was berserk. There were reports where he would be, guys were down on the ground cuffed and he would open their legs and step on their, midsections, and he got caught planting evidence on somebody. I think they swept that under the rug, and I think probably within a year or two, he was promoted over to state police. But he's well connected, I don't know the name, but he's well connected to a politician that's from Stonington Mystic area. And I think it's his wife's relatives. I think that's the connection. This guy, this is about 2003, and they promoted him. It's really not a pay promotion, but it's a position promotion. And they would do shakedowns. Him, Anthony Corsella, Stephen Bates was a captain. Just the total good old boy crew. They were pulling the Black Glove, which, as you guys probably are aware, is outlawed. Goon Squad is outlawed because it's Goon Squad law.
Shenanigans.
Na.
Shenanigans.
Na.
And we're calling shenanigans, folks, because this is really hitting those triggers on this may not be real. Now, we're hearing two different voice tones. The individual from the first part of the story, and now the second part, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Sean. But here's the thing. Using basic editing software, you can change the voice to mask it. For example, like this. By simply using these editing software I have, which is fairly basic, you can actually
change the pitch of somebody's voice to make them sound distorted or like somebody else.
But not only that, section it off so you can go back to your normal voice if this was a recorded conversation and change it back. But that doesn't happen. Now, even if Sean has an editor who has better software than I do, they can actually do a better job. But we don't see that. This seems like something that was rushed together. Something that may have been ran through an AI filter or a AI program to distort the voices and even distorted Sean's. So it makes me wonder, did Sean actually record somebody giving him this info, or did he actually record this himself and then use the AI software to try to change the voice?
They caught Fahey on this is before they had cameras on the body. The idiot is planting evidence in the guy's car and is caught by the freaking squad car. Yep, and they swept that crap under the rug, but he was just dirty, dude. He was dirty in DLC, but he's of that brethren of the good old boys. Listen, that guy that was in that video with him on that property, that dude is blessed. If he himself had a camera and there was no cameraman, he'd got shot. That's
With all due respect, what the fuck are you talking about?
who he is. He's a sneaky, dirty piece of... He's dirty, dude. They let him retire before they even announced an arrest. I'm just saying. So when I worked there, he would come to work sometimes with scratches. Now, mind you, he thin as a fucking nail, okay? Skinny, always tried to eat a lot because he wanted to be bigger. And he would come in with scratches all over. So, married with kids, sometimes he'd get in his little racist gang circle and, he'd bash women. So it's like, clearly things at home weren't good. I don't do social media, but when COVID came around and, our country erupted because people try to say it's not racist, but then COVID exposed a lot of that to not be true. That dude and his wife were highly vocal on the internet about race issues. Highly. So some buddies of mine that, good buddy of mine that was probation and retired, he was like, wow, I can't believe, now say he was strategic in this sense. He wouldn't say it, he let his wife say it. Fucking teacher in Groton, Connecticut. I'm like, this chick is a teacher. You don't get to choose the students you teach. This is how she feels about a predominantly minority population group.
It's funny that this whistleblower is using the exact same kind of words and phrases Sean has used in his videos to describe Fahey. I mean, exactly the exact same words, almost as if Sean wrote this in a AI prompt to put this out here. Now, I don't know if he had this transcripted or not, but it does seem very odd. Not to mention the statements of making racial posts on social media. During the 2020 pandemic, social media websites were highly sourced on anything that could be considered racist, and people would report these comments. But again, where is this proof? I mean, you couldn't provide us with any screenshots. You couldn't provide anything other than this anonymous whistleblower's hearsay testimony. All of this just seems so odd and so peculiar, especially knowing that the statements about Fahey retiring and not being punished. Well, Fahey has put his retirement paperwork in the beginning of the year. He was scheduled to retire at the beginning of August. There's no cover up on that. That's public record.
So, and he exudes every bit of what you were exposing. I was shocked to learn about, pretty much what you went there to question him about. I'm like, I remember that a few years, that was a big news thing, and boy, did they sweep that under the rug with how the state police, especially during times when we were all in, a recession-ish, and things in the state had gone awry, but these guys were still making upwards $150,000 to $250,000, and yeah, the government's dirty too.
Some people he worked with reached out to me last week, and they have video of the stuff that he did. They said he was just out of control.
Anthony Corsella is a good friend of his.
Again, there's a third voice change here. Now, we heard what's supposed to be Sean, asking this whistleblower questions and then going back to the whistleblower's voice, but now we have a third tone change. This is giving me more and more suspicion that this was AI generated, or he had some kind of AI prompt reading this and then he just ran it through a voice changing thing and was lazy about it. I mean, you would think Sean, who has almost 1 million followers and all this money, would have better editing software or have an editor who would actually, change his voice out professionally. why does the voice keep changing so much? Why is it going back from these three different voices? It's just really questionable and makes me doubt any accuracy of any of this.
That guy made it all the way up to deputy warden at the female facility in East Lawn. But that whole network of friends and people, they all just promoted. And they were all pieces of shit. All of them. Go to work high. Oh yeah. Corsella, you know, I get it. Marijuana's legal now, whatever. But it wasn't legal in fucking 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, you know, etc. So they were always beating on fucking inmates and, yeah, I could tell you a lot of shit. If I may.
And again, Sean is being very misleading here. You know, he's showing us this newspaper article that he's been showing in a lot of his live streams about Fahey, saying that he's a drug dealer. That was from 2001 when this person was 20 years old. Okay, if Fahey was 20 years old at that point and he wasn't already a cop, having a criminal charge like that would prevent him from being a cop. All right, he would have a felony conviction. You know, you never verified, Sean, if that was actually Brian Fahey, the person you're trying to accuse, or just somebody with a similar name. You know, that's not very, you know, journalistic. You would think you would verify that information and confirm it.
You know, Sean, your demeanor was perfect, because if you had flinched, even with the camera, since the camera guy was going to get it, right? That guy he was flinching and shaking himself inside. That rage, that if you had just stopped and stood there at him, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh my God, man, I could train off of this. That guy, you kept walking backwards. Before you came to a complete stop, you talked him to a stop. I'm like, oh my, this guy must know him. Like, dude, you have no idea how God was with you that day. That group, so the Corsella guy, and mind you, he was running the gang unit, so this is how they would all watch each other's back. This is before the big heroin/fentanyl outbreak, right? So this is around 03, 04. The inmates will always come in off the street and tell you, hey man, that's the fucking guy that sold me the drug. That's the guy that got me busted. What else?
Again, this is really suspect with what this individual is saying. First, he's talking about how Sean, you know, knew Fahey and how he was walking him back and Fahey would have done all this stuff. If you look at Fahey's trigger discipline with the gun that he had, the firearm was pointed face down to the ground, finger away from the trigger. He had complete control over him when it came to that firearm. Yes, he was agitated. Yes, he was mad, but he wasn't, just, brandishing the gun and pointing it at people like Sean likes to say. But now he's talking, the whistleblower's talking about, the inmates were saying, that's the guy who arrested me, but he was also the guy who sold me drugs. Okay, so you're saying that is Fahey from the whistleblower's standpoint, then he would have been fired. He would have been investigated by the Department of Justice, for selling drugs. There would have been a mugshot attached to it. This would have been a big news story. But no, you don't provide any of that info, Sean. Why? Because you're making this up.
Their buddies came in, and he had a drug problem. It was a white kid, and he was younger than them, but I knew him in the community as one of their groups. And Corsella walks into my unit, goes to the guy's bunk, gives the guy something. About 30 minutes later, I get off a shift, and no sooner as I can walk to the door to get out the sally port, cold blue, the guy OD'd, and it came from Corsella. And so, and they all covered it up. They even charged it was an old Puerto Rican inmate. They said he was the mule. It came from, and they shipped him out to a fucking higher level facility.
Dramatization may not have happened.
And I witnessed this. And so it's a different world up here, even in different parts of Connecticut. Like that Fairfield County and further down. they come from a part of the real country here. This up here, this has got its own little way of, little house on the prairie, so to speak. It goes the way the people who run it wants it to go. And I know that that's throughout different counties and et cetera, but here, yeah, it's very well connected.
Alright, fellow patriots, so to be honest with you, none of the misconduct reported by the whistleblower surprises me at all. I have always known that former and disgraced Sergeant Brian Fahey is an unhinged criminal tyrant. I will never stop until he is held accountable for his misconduct.
You know, Sean, you're showing us more and more of this vendetta you have. Fahey was found guilty and is doing a divergent program for his disorderly conduct charge. Something that you don't like happened, but yet he's being punished. That's what you wanted. It may not be the punishment you feel he deserves, but it's a punishment nonetheless issued out by the court of law and not the court of public opinion.
I have a court hearing for the baseless retaliatory charges that were put against me and my cameraman December 9th. It will be recorded, so stay tuned to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Hit the like button and share this video anywhere you can on social media. Thank you for your support. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.
And we're ending it here, folks. Clearly, this is just a really, really bad story. There's too many holes, too many things that make you question everything. With Sean's editing and, the way the quote-unquote whistleblower talks has a lot of Seanisms in it. A lot of his way of speaking about Fahey. So it makes this really seem like this was something that Sean may have written, ran through an AI prompt, and then used that cheap way to distort the voices. I mean, if Sean's got an editor, like he says he does, why didn't the editor just censor out or distort the voice of the whistleblower and not Sean's? It makes you question everything about this whole video. So if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up and a comment because it helps me with the algorithm. Don't forget to check out my second channel, the podcast, and don't forget to sign up for your free 14-day trial with Aura. With all that being said, be well, be safe, and I will see you guys next time. And a very special thank you to all members of the news team. Without all of your support, I couldn't keep this channel going. So I want to thank you all personally from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean the world to me, and I can never thank you enough. You guys rock.